see. Somebody.
Call this meeting in order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, can we please do a roll call?
Council President O'Halloran.
Here.
Councilmember Rivera.
Here.
Councilmember Albertson.
Here.
Councilmember Van.
Here.
Councilmember Perez.
Here.
Councilmember Prince.
Here.
Councilmember McIrvin.
Here.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all present.
All right, thank you. We're going to start off tonight with a proclamation, and it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
All right, proclamation. Whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control and/or abuse. And whereas it has been estimated that every 9 seconds a woman is beaten by her husband or boyfriend in this country, and in more than half of those instances, children under the age of 12 are present. And whereas in April 2023, the City of Renton adopted Renton Municipal Code 633-3, exposing minor children to domestic violence. And whereas more than half of abusers responsible for domestic violence-related fatal shootings were prohibited by law from owning firearms. And whereas domestic violence does not discriminate and crosses all economic, racial, gender, educational, religious, and societal barriers, and is sustained by indifference. And whereas the City of Renton is working to improve the overall response to and the reduction of domestic violence in our region with awareness of the cultural differences in our community, and whereas domestic violence is one of the most dangerous calls for law enforcement, and the safety of those involved, along with the community, is a critical situation. Now, therefore, I, Armando Pavoni, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim October 2023 to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the City of Renton. I encourage everyone in our community to take an active role in supporting all victims so they can lead healthy lives safe from violent and abusive behavior. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed the second day of October 2023. Signed, Armando Pavoni, Mayor of the City of Renton.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Perez.
I move the proclamation to be adopted as read.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Perez, seconded by Councilmember Prince, that the proclamation be adopted as read. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. And tonight to accept the proclamation is Renton's own domestic violence advocate, Tina Harris.
Good evening, Mayor. May I say a few words?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, good evening, Mayor Pavoni, council members, and the residents of Renton. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to recognize October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Domestic violence in our community is a public safety concern. It impacts our community on several different levels, not limited to a person's emotional, physical, and financial control, whereby housing, childcare, religion, and everyday lives is affected by the power and control of the abuser. I'd like to take a moment to remember a few of our community members that have lost their lives due to domestic violence. Montish Offord, Lila Wilson, Natalie Galucci, Dean Lahau, Fatima Zavela, Kathy Chow, Jessica Scholl, Allison Leedy, Megan Smith, and former police front counter specialist Beretta Hawkins and her mother, Barbara Hawkins, were both she was a correction officer for King County. They're gone, but they're not forgotten. All these lives were lost, but several other victims may have been saved by our community-based programs that are currently funded by the City of Renton and those who work collaboratively with the victims that they serve within the community of Renton. A few of those are the Domestic Abuse Women's Network, the YWCA, REWA, API Chaya, Consejo, Project Be Free, just to name a few. Along with family, friends, and coworkers, first responders, churches, and many others who've assisted in keeping the individuals safe within our community. As stated in the proclamation, in April, we were able to adopt the Exposing Children to Domestic Violence. That was a collaborative effort with the city prosecutor's office, the courts, and the public defense. This is a very important proclamation, but RCW or RMC that protects the children in our community. Domestic violence is still some of the most dangerous calls for law enforcement officers to respond to. The safety and the welfare of our community and the critical calls depend on law enforcement's response for safety and assistance during these calls. This month, in honor of those affected by domestic violence, we have the display of the purple lights. If you've had the opportunity to see them out on the lawn, it's just a nice reminder that for the public of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We also are wearing our purple ribbons in honor of the victims that are going through the process of domestic violence. You'll see some of the officers have the ribbons also on their vehicles. And then downstairs in the lobby, we do have the silent witness silhouettes. Those silhouettes have the badges of our community members who have lost their lives in the city of Renton and the outcome of their case. I'm always very humbled and honored to be here this evening. I have been fortunate to be the victim advocate here for the past 20 years, and it seems like it was not that long ago in which I was hired. It's always an honor and a privilege to serve the council members, to serve the Renton community, and definitely to serve the Renton Police Department. So with that being said, thank you for your time, thank you for your efforts, and thank you for keeping the victims of domestic violence in the forefront when you think of public safety. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to take some pictures now, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Tina.
Right. Next, we're going to open up a public hearing, the assumption of Renton Transportation District, and presenting will be Jim Seitz, the Transportation Director.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm here tonight doing staff presentation as well as the recommendation by the staff for the regarding the assumption of the Renton Transportation Benefit District. In way of background, the district, which includes the whole city geographically, was established just last summer. What district is a quasi-municipal corporation with an independent taxing district, with the City Council currently acting as the governing body, which is authorized by state law to raise revenue for specific transportation projects. Usually the revenue is generated through vehicle license fees, sales tax, or both. The same state law also allows any city that forms a TBD with the geographic area of the district being the whole city to assume the rights, powers, function, and obligations of the district. And that is what we're here tonight to discuss, is the assumption of the TIB by the Renton City Council. And the TBD at that point would no longer exist if the ordinance is approved as a separate legal entity. I should make that clear. In order to make that happen, we have an ordinance before you, an amendment to Chapter 522, eliminating the governing board with the City Council assuming the duties of the district and acting as the governing body. This would allow the city to conduct the business without the district holding a separate meeting, and would allow the City Council to accept public comments regarding the activities of the district at all regularly scheduled council meetings. Lastly, most cities that have put together a TBD within the whole city have actually gone this route as well in order to streamline legislative and administrative processes of the TBDs. The next step in the process, we've been talking about this all summer long, is it actually takes 3 ordinances, and we've already got, of course, one of those done. We've established the Renton Transportation Benefit District this last summer, as I mentioned. The city's assumption process is underway. Of course, we're tonight here at the October 2nd public hearing and first reading of the ordinance. By the way, we do not have an ordinance committee. That's just a typo there, just an extra word on the end of that. Apologize for that. And if you were to pass the ordinance, it would become effective on October 17th. The next step in the process, as I mentioned earlier, the districts are formed. The state allowed us the powers to form these districts and to collect revenue in order to satisfy some of our local transportation funding needs. And the next step in the process would be actually do that by imposing a 0.1% sales tax. And we'll be planning on bringing that to the council on November 6th. And if that should go through the process as well and become effective, we'd start collecting sales tax for our transportation improvements starting next year on April 1st would be the first revenue coming in from the state. Speaking of the transportation needs that would be funded with any future funding mechanism, we do have information the public can view on 2 story maps. One involves our 10-year pavement preservation plan, which would give residents the opportunity to view what our plan is over the next 10 years to preserve our pavement condition throughout the city. The second story map that we have is a comprehensive walkway plan, which is also taking public input from residents and anyone that visits the city on how we can make our walkways better, make pedestrian safety more conducive throughout the city, especially in our neighborhoods. And we are definitely taking comments on that and putting together a plan for the improvements to get funded next year. So we encourage people to go to those 2 sites and provide input and look at the planned improvements that would occur if we get the sales tax approved next year. So finally, the staff recommendation is to adopt the ordinance amending the Chapter 27, assuming the Renton Transportation Benefits District to Title 5 of the Renton Municipal Code. And at that point, that concludes our presentation.
I know we've been looking at this. Okay, what's the list of the council?
Okay.
What's that? Do we have any correspondence?
We have no correspondence, and I'm not sure if anybody signed up.
Nobody has signed up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Council President.
I move we, Council President,
Yeah. Council
I move
President.
we, I'll take it. I move we close the public hearing.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember McGurven, second by Councilmember Perez, that the public hearing be closed. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. The public hearing is closed. And next up is the 2024 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Fund. And to present will be Lori Fleming from Human Services.
Good evening, and yes, tonight is the public hearing. It's a required public hearing on our proposed use of our 2024. Whoops.
Nope. The pink.
All right.
Sorry. There you go.
All right. So it's the required public hearing on the proposed use of our 2024 Community Development Block Grant funds and also the reallocation of some unspent, I'm going to shorten it to CDBG Coronavirus Round 3 funding. CDBG funds, they're federal funds that are from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and they must be used to serve low and moderate income persons. The city of Renton is a joint agreement city, which is a special designation for those cities that partner with their local county. And Renton is part of the King County CDBG Consortium, along with 18 other cities in the King County area. These federal funds, they come with many regulations, lots of restrictions, planning, environmental review, Davis-Bacon, and monitoring. Our 2024 estimated entitlement is about $653,000. Since we do work with King County, they do keep some of that money for themselves. They take about $78,000 for administration, and then there's $163,000 that they use for the King County Housing Repair Program that directly serves our Renton residents and works in conjunction with our minor home repair program. So we serve quite a few Renton residents with those funds. And then 5% goes to the housing stability, which also serves Renton residents, providing rent assistance and other housing stability services. The money that's remaining is about $379,000. And of that, about $65,000 is for city staff time to administer the CDBG program. And then $313,698 is being proposed for the Don Person Renton Senior Activity Center roof replacement project. In the past, probably the last 6 years or so, these funds have been used for the Downtown Streetscapes Improvement Project. This was a priority project of the Renton Downtown Civic Core Vision and Action Plan. There was a project along Wells Avenue a few years ago, and the recent project is along Williams Ave between 2nd and 3rd. And funding was just awarded for a construction contractor, and work should be starting soon on that project, hopefully to be done by the end of the year. So funding then for next year, we met with various departments in the city and asked for project ideas. And after reviewing many project ideas, we came up that the roof replacement project would be the best one of the upcoming funding. Seniors are a presumed low and moderate income group. The senior center is 45 years old and in need of lots of, repairs and updates. This project was a priority project in the city's capital investment program, and we are able to match these funds along with the coronavirus funds to just do a joint project, which would create lots of efficiencies. In allocating funds, we have to have a contingency plan. And so if we get more or less funding, our plan is to provide planning and administration to the maximum amount allowed. And then any increases or decreases would go then to the roof replacement project. Then kind of the second part of the public hearing is the reallocation of the coronavirus round 3 funds. So we received about $1.2 million in 3 rounds of coronavirus funding. These funds also must serve low and moderate income Renton residents, and they must have a COVID tieback, which means it must prevent, prepare for, or respond to the coronavirus. And of those funds, about $1 million was allocated for rent assistance. We had, unfortunately, about $440,000 that was unspent. This was due to agency capacity issues, and also this late, agencies having trouble showing a COVID tieback, especially with rent assistance. And therefore, we have the unspent funding that we're now proposing to use for the Renton Senior Activity HVAC system. And for this, again, seniors are a presumed low moderate income group, and HVAC and air quality still has that COVID tieback. This is also a priority project, and we plan to combine these funds with the 2024 funds for a joint project, which again will make good efficiencies. So tonight we're asking to hold a public hearing to provide the public opportunity to provide comment on the proposed 2024 CDBG funds, as well as on the reallocation of the CDBG CV3 funds. And then council, after the public hearing, the item is on consent to go to the finance committee. Any questions?
Questions at this time? All right, do we have any correspondence?
I received no correspondence, Mr. Mayor.
All right, and we have no one signed up to speak on this. So what is the wish of the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move we close the public hearing.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember McGurven, seconded by Councilmember Prince, that the public hearing be closed. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are on to the administrative report.
Right, Mr. Mayor, today the first piece of information is about preventative street maintenance, traffic impact projects, and road closures happening this week, which can be found at rentonwa.gov/traffic. All projects are weather permitting, and unless otherwise noted, streets will always remain open. That is all I have, Mr. Mayor.
You. And at this time, we have no one signed up for audience comment, which is next. Do we have anyone on remotely signed up?
We did have one speaker signed up to speak. That's Ryan Mingus. However, Ryan is not signed up into this meeting.
Okay.
And I did forward some correspondence from him to the council earlier today.
Saw that. All right, thank you. We're on to consent agenda. There are 5 items on the consent agenda. Are there any that council would like pulled for separate consideration?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember.
I move we approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Prince, seconded by Councilmember McGurven, that the council approve the consent agenda as published. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. We are on to unfinished business. Council President O'Halloran,
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Rivera,
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The Community Services Committee has one report.
Community Services Committee report, appointment to Equity Commission. The Community Services Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the appointment of Sarah Ballard to the Equity Commission for an unexpired term expiring December 31st, 2024. This is approved or signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
yes, Councilmember Rivera.
I move that we adopt the committee report as read. A second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Rivera, seconded by Councilmember Van, that the council concur with the community service report. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, we're on to Councilmember Albertson.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Van.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Perez.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Prince.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
And Councilmember Gervin.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Transportation Committee was supposed to have a committee report to present tonight, but we are going to defer that to a future meeting, so no unfinished business.
All right, thank you. Next is legislation. We have 1 ordinance for first reading and 2 for second and final.
Okay, first is ordinance number 6121, and it is regarding the assumption of the rights, powers, functions, immunities, and obligations of the Renton Transportation Benefit District. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, assuming the rights, powers, functions, immunities, and obligations of the Renton Transportation Benefit District, amending Chapter 5-27 of the Renton Municipal Code, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Gervin.
I move that this ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember McGurven, second by Councilmember Perez, that the ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
All right, the next item is ordinance number 6119. This is docket item 230, which is sports arenas, auditoriums, and exhibition halls. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending sections 4260J and 4280A 29 of the Renton Municipal Code regarding zoning for sports arenas, auditoriums, and exhibition halls of the Renton Municipal Code, authorizing corrections, providing for severability, and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Prince.
I move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Prince, second by Councilmember McGurven, that the ordinance be adopted as read. This is a second reading. It requires a roll call.
Council President O'Halloran.
Aye.
Councilmember Rivera.
Aye.
Councilmember Albertson.
Aye.
Councilmember Van.
Aye.
Councilmember Perez.
Aye.
Councilmember Prince.
Aye.
And Councilmember McGurven.
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
Motion carries.
And the final ordinance, also for second and final reading, is another docket item, number D227, amending impact fee regulations regarding impact fee reductions. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending subsections 41190D, 41190G4, and 41190I2 of the Renton Municipal Code, amending impact fee regulations regarding impact fee reductions, and adding a definition and impact fee exemption standards related to early learning facilities, authorizing corrections, providing for severability, and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, that's Councilmember Prince.
I move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Prince, second by Councilmember McGurven. The ordinance be adopted as read. Second reading, it requires a roll call.
Council President O'Halloran.
Aye.
Councilmember Rivera.
Aye.
Councilmember Albertson.
Aye.
Councilmember Van.
Aye.
Councilmember Perez.
Aye.
Councilmember Prince.
Aye.
And Councilmember McGurven.
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. We're on to new business. Council President O'Halloran.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, on Monday, October the 9th at 5 p.m., the Committee of the Whole will be meeting in the council chambers as well as via video conference. We have one item on the agenda. It's electric vehicle infrastructure plan. At 6 p.m. on October 9th, we will have the National Hispanic Heritage Month reception, reception in the council conferencing center located on the 7th floor. No official council action will be taken during this reception. And then on Monday, October the 9th at 7 p.m., our regularly scheduled council meeting will be held in the council chambers and via video conference. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Get better soon. All right, Councilmember Rivera.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Albertson.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Van.
No new business.
Councilmember Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Monday, October 9 at 2:30 p.m., the Finance Committee will be taking place at the Council Conference Room and also via video conference. We have 5 items on the agenda. First, King County Capital Project Grant Family First Community Center. Second, lease with Dish Wireless LLC. Third, proposed use of 2024 Community Development Block Grant funds and reallocation of Community Development Block Grant, Coronavirus Grant 3 funds. 4, vouchers. And 5th, emerging issues in finance. Thank you.
Hey, Councilmember Prince.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Monday, October 9th at 3:45 p.m., the Plan and Development Committee will be meeting in the council conference room and by video conference. We have 4 items on the agenda. Docket 18, Group D update, D231 code interpretations. Secondly, we have the 2021 construction and administrative code with local amendments adoption update, D232. Third, the Clean Economy Strategy 2.0 update. And then 4th, emerging issues and CED. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Councilmember McGurven.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Well, I have a little bit of new business I want to talk about. So a few days ago, we, the city, put on a mooncake festival, which is a celebration that's very popular in a number of Asian communities. And it was the first time we had put on this celebration. And so the staff didn't know what to expect. We were probably anticipating somewhere between 300 and 500 participants. It was an amazing expedition of there was a lion dance and a number of entertainment. The festival is really focused around kids. The last count that we had was actually 1,180 people, and we know that not everybody showed up, so it was wildly successful. And I really want to thank staff for putting it on. It was a fantastic event. So with that, what's the wish of the council?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Prince, second by Councilmember McGurven, that we adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.